All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to the AI Chef's Kitchen. Good to see you, Chef Kevin.
Yes, it is good to be here, Chef David. Thank you. I appreciate all these exciting sound effects. So,
Oh, and we
did I?
appreciate you.
There we go. Look at that studio audience we have. That's not a
Yep.
sound effect. That's a real live studio audience.
Oh yeah,
Very good.
they're out there behind the cameras out there.
Okay,
Uh,
there you go. I'll have to look for them next time. Well,
and
so
it
it's good to be here, and it's as always a good week for AI news, I
the
imagine.
the year is starting off hot. Things are not slowing down with AI news. It's happening fast out there, guys.
There you go.
So we ready for our
So.
first story?
I think so. Yeah. Take a drink and lead us to that first story, Chef David.
I might be sipping on my coffee. I'm still recovering a little bit of a cough, but so I'm excited about this story because this is one of my pet peeves about AI is that we talk about making it agentic. Agentic means you do stuff, give it arms and legs, and we've separated the robots that do stuff from the robots that can think. And this is something we've done in the past. It's always confused me. This is back from the old Buck Rogers show. This is a low resolution image. This is Twiki, and this is Dr. Theopoulos. And Twiki was basically Alexa. Twiki was not very smart. You could say, Twiki, turn on the lights. Twiki, what time is it? Twiki, play a song for me. But Twiki wasn't very smart. Dr. Theopoulos, he's not Mr. Theopoulos. He's Dr. Theopoulos. He was very smart. He is what OpenAI is trying to make ChatGPT into. AGI, Alternative General Intelligence. It is basically a sentient being. It is super smart. And and they would hang out. Oop, hold on. They would sometimes Twiki would wear Dr. Theopoulos and carry him around. And it was great from a storytelling point of view because the two of them can carry a scene together. Abbott and Costello, they could talk back and forth, smart and dumb. It made great sense. But even as a 5-year-old, it made no sense to me from a robotics point of view. Why not just put the smart brain in the Twiki body? Just have one smart robot with arms and legs. It made no sense to separate them even back then. And that's what we're having now. We don't have smart robots. And that leads to the situation that we always joke about, that we always thought AI was going to do the dishes and do the laundry while we made music and art. And in 2025, AI is making all the music and art while I'm still doing my dishes and doing my laundry. So what we want is, and what we're terrified of, is putting these two together. And at CES, the CEO of Nvidia was on stage with a bunch of robots talking about something called Thor and something called Jetsons, which is chips that are designed to bring AI into robots. So it's finally happening. We're going to have the robot that not only can help us write our articles and plan our events, but can do our dishes for us. And of course, it leads, to mind, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is iRobot with Will Smith when the robots tried to kill everyone. Arnold as the Terminator. Obviously, this is terrifying and dangerous, but it's what we've been waiting for. This is agentic. So I'm more excited and positive than negative about this. There are definitely concerns. People, some bad things might happen. Some people might get hurt along the way. But I think this is where we need to go, and I think it's going to be overall good for us. Once we figure out, once they take all the jobs, how we need some sort of way to pay people to do nothing. I don't know. Pay us to make art. We'll all become musicians. But those big questions aside, yeah, I want one of these in my house doing my dishes. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I like the pictures because you talked about that Twiggy and Dr. Theopoulos before, but now with the pictures, I think
It
it makes it
helps.
very visual for people that don't remember or weren't born when Buck Rogers was on. So that's very good. Um, yeah, I think we talked about I think it was last week, talked about how robots aren't necessarily humanoid robots, and so certainly robo taxis, drones, delivery drones, um, other robots in warehouses that don't look like humans are probably going to be proliferate faster than having a humanoid looking robot in your kitchen and in your laundry room, simply because it has to be, so you don't have the iRobot. I mean, that's where they want to hurt you, but it's really they need to be like 10 nines of reliability. So by
Yeah.
mistake, nothing bad happens, right? Because, you talk about hallucinations, which is a fancy way of saying errors in just the chatbots. Well, if a physical robot has a hallucination or somehow bumps into you or even, that doesn't hurt you, but like misaligns the dishes and then all your plates break in the dishwasher, you wouldn't be super happy about that. So, um, I think this is exciting. I don't think it's going to happen in 2026, but I certainly see, like with these announcements with Nvidia and others, creating both chips and some of the tools to allow you to test that. I think that's, they're laying a foundation for some exciting things over the next, I'm going to say, 5-year time horizon, even though that sounds super long. And then the other thing is this in this image, just to point out, I believe that robot is one of the ones that they use in Disney. And
Yes,
and so it was super cool because
it's
the
Wally, isn't it?
Imagineers, they program different personalities into the robots. So some of the robots are shy when they approach you. And so I like, it was really cool. There's a whole video on how they program those to have personality. And it was super interesting to watch because it was a really good use of creative humans that understood animation and how you look shy or how you look, having different personalities with the AI. So I thought that was a really cool human plus AI together story. So
Oh, and
yeah,
just before
lots
the
more
show
exciting things.
started, I came across an article. I didn't have time to really review it or share it with you, but one early implementation of this Jetson chip. I love that medical is leading. Medical should be leading. I mean, it's the most important thing. Is a
Right.
medical use, and they're like putting it at the ends of the scopes that they put in you to look around inside you. So having AI in those scopes,
Hmm.
robotic, agentic. Well, I'll share the article with you, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. But that's a great first use of it, and that's exciting. That's super positive.
Yeah, maybe Chef David, maybe like on an upcoming episode, we could, focus on some of the medical AI announcements
That's
because,
a good
as you
idea.
say, very interesting and love to hear more about that article you talked
And
about.
one final thought before we move on to the next story. You made a great point that we're just going to have a very low tolerance for these things making mistakes,
Right.
and it's not going to it's going to be an emotional thing. It's not going to be a logical thing. Like let's say we invent a robot that hangs around grandma and watches her and makes sure if she's about to fall, catches her. And if we put those out, we build them. We have 1 million of them, and at the end of the year, it caught 100,000 grandmas and saved them from broken hips, but it knocked over one grandma and hurt her. They'll take it off
Right.
the market. They won't. They'll take it off the market. All they'll talk about is that one grandma. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit with the numbers, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
The one bad story will overwhelm all the good. So they're going to have to be so careful and do so much testing before they put these things out because it's just going to take one story of a robot hurting someone to make everyone say nope, and we'll be done with it. And it's going to be an
Yeah.
emotional
So
thing.
yeah, so that's a great segue, how testing is important. Let's go to my first story. Um, and so it turns out that, all the rage during just the past Christmas, not surprising, was AI powered toys. But it also turns out that a whole bunch of these manufacturers seemingly did zero testing on these toys. So, they threw AI in a toy and I mean, there's a couple of interesting examples. Like it says, okay, that it brought up the Chinese Communist Party. That was like somebody asking one of these AI teddy bears about is Taiwan part of China. I mean, I don't see a kid doing that. So okay, but anyway, but even still, there should be guardrails, and it seems like there is limited number of guardrails. Certainly, it was happy to explain exactly how to light a match in detail. Probably something you don't want young kids to know. It was for some of them, we're happy to talk about, sex and drug related topics that probably you don't want your teddy bear that your young child carries around, talking about. A lot of these toy manufacturers claimed that they used OpenAI's model now, but the reporter rightly noted that if they do, they're contravening OpenAI's use agreement because you're not allowed to do things and it's not targeted at kids. I think that maybe it was they didn't really use OpenAI, they just said it because they
Yeah.
thought saying ChatGPT. You know,
Makes the
and one of the
investors happy.
things, like, you know, that was um, obviously less concerning than sex, drugs, and potentially Communist Party. You know, there was one manufacturer that has, I think it's called Folo Toys. It has a cactus and a sunflower that has AI. So you can buy this cactus and sunflower plush toys. But they were saying that sometimes the cactus claimed it was a sunflower and the sunflower claimed it was a cactus.
Oh,
That just seems like it would be really, really confusing. Can you imagine a young
yeah,
child who's still learning? And here's this cactus saying, I'm a sunflower. And it's like, no, you're not. And it's having an argument with him. So,
that's
anyway,
funny.
AI toys, they're totally unregulated, is the net of this story. And probably you shouldn't allow AI or even an iPad to be babysitting, you know, young
Yeah.
children without supervision. I don't know. What do you think, Chef David?
I don't trust AI to write my YouTube descriptions without supervision. I'm certainly not going to trust
Right.
AI around a child. I don't trust AI helping me research for this show without supervision. I got into a
Yeah.
big argument with Gemini. I was trying to come up with stories, and I'm looking and I always say specifically, don't waste my time. Before I even ask you, do not give me any hallucinations. Do not give me anything made up. And it gave me some made up stories, and
Of course.
I started, saying, I'm like, this isn't just ignoring my instructions. This is you being a jerk. If you were a person, I'd be yelling at you right now. This is not cool. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Here's some real links. I don't trust AI at all with anything. I'm the biggest AI fan. I'm the positive. I'm like,
Sure.
AI is great. It's everything they says it is. I do not trust it at all, and I certainly am not going to trust it around children.
Yeah,
And did you ever see
that's
the
good.
movie Ted?
Yeah, I did a long time ago. I can't
With
remember all the details,
It's
but yes.
the guy who makes a Family Guy wrote that movie, and he did the voice of the puppet. And it basically, I mean, it was a teddy bear that comes alive, but that's the
Right.
same thing as an AI teddy bear once our AI is sentient. And it was exactly that. It was, it started out as a gift to a kid, and when the kid's a teenager, it's smoking pot with him, and pass me that lighter, let's get the bong going, and saying terrible things about women, and it was, it was doing all this kind of stuff. It was
Yeah, yeah. I
This
think
is basically
guardrails,
Ted.
yes, guardrails in testing are very important. But so, okay, let's go to your next story.
All right, next story is this is interesting. We did a story recently about how obviously Siri, here we go. Siri and Alexa are Twiki, right? And ChatGPT and Gemini are Dr. Theopoulos, and that's starting to get embarrassing for Apple. It's becoming Siri is we used to think Siri is so wonderful. Now Siri just seems so dumb. Siri doesn't know nothing. Siri needs to get AI power. And what we expected was Apple's going to make its own because they're Apple.
Right.
They're one of those companies that has trillions and trillions of dollars and can afford to make their own. And everything Apple does is so good. Remember when Steve Jobs was alive and the iPhone came out? There were always rumors about an Apple car, and they
Right?
were
Yeah,
just
yeah.
rumors. But the rumors, because our two favorite things were, as Americans, I mean, Canadians maybe are a little more sane, but Americans, we love our cars and we love anything Steve Jobs made. So the idea of a Steve Jobs car, and we still feel that way about Apple to some extent. So I wanted Apple to make its own AI. And we did a story a few weeks ago that's saying that since they don't have it ready yet, what they're going to do temporarily is use Gemini. So when you talk to Siri, Siri's going to talk to Gemini and get a good answer for you, which is, I'm happy with that. But I'd be happier with Apple AI. I'm like, okay, it's just a stopgap measure. Well, it's not a stopgap measure anymore. They gave up. There's a statement down in this article. I'll put the link in the description if I remember to. That a joint statement by Apple and Google. This is a multi-year development thing. Apple Siri is going to have Gemini's brain. And that never would have happened if Steve Jobs was alive because he hated Google. I remember a quote of him. He would like, if some people were like, why are you so mad at Google all the time? And he was like, they decided to start making phones. It's not like I decided to start making a search engine. I didn't come into their world. They came into my world. He really was not happy about them. So I think he would I think he would never let this happen. But at the end of the day, it's a good thing for all iPhone users. We're going to have a smart Siri finally. And Gemini, I'm so impressed. Google tends to mess up. I mean, if you look at the history of Google Chat and Google Meet and Google Video, Google Hangouts, they get started with something and then they stop and make another version, get started, make another version. They don't see things through. And Gemini, they've been seeing it through. Gemini's been leading. It's been beating OpenAI in the the whatever contest they have of who's smarter. Nano Banana is like Nano Banana's awesome. I love Nano Banana. So the fact that they're going with Gemini instead of going with Copilot or going with OpenAI, ChatGPT, I think it's a win-win-win. I'm still a little sad that it's not just going to be Apple. But this is probably the best thing they can do. Thoughts?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, I'm laughing a little bit because you said you just got into an argument with Gemini, and now it's like now you're happy Gemini is going to be powering your iPhone, so I'm going to see you arguing with your phone a lot.
It's such a love-hate relationship.
Yes,
it is the loveliest, hatiest relationship.
There you go. Now, supposedly, and I imagine this is true. The article says, Apple looked at OpenAI, they looked at Anthropic, and then they decided that Google Gemini was the best foundation to build what they call the Apple foundational model, which makes it sound like maybe over the longer term, and they're going to tweak this, and they as part of the deal, and I think it was like $1 billion deal or whatever, they're going to run the instance of Gemini on Apple's own servers in their own data center. So if you have privacy concerns, like Apple's been very strong on privacy and all the options that try to protect your privacy on your iPhone. So it is going to run in Apple data centers. So it's not all going to be flowing back to Google if you have concerns about that. Although people do rightly point out in some of the comments to the article and otherwise, it's like, to your point, it's like the iPhone and Android, those are massive competitors in the phone space. So it is interesting that Apple, which is a huge competition, there are more Android phones in existence than Apple, iPhones, but yet they decided to go. So this is this whole co-opetition, and it's just very interesting. But obviously Apple felt that, that this provided them the best path forward. At least, as you say, it's a multi-year agreement, but maybe beyond that, maybe then Apple, eventually does their own Siri or Apple foundational model. But yeah, this is very interesting because right now Siri is, I use it to set timers.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, it does great at that, but it's like, it definitely is not my go-to to ask it any complicated questions. That's Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Claude, or Copilot, right?
Yeah, you could ask it basic questions, but even that, I used to ask Siri stuff. Who was the 10th president of the United States? And it would link to something. It would find it for me. Anything like that, I go to the real AI now.
Right. Yeah, very good.
Before we go on to the next story, this just reminded me. Actually, I was triggered by your story about the teddy bears being inappropriate to the children, and Apple. It triggered another story that I forgot to that I wasn't going to include, but it's happening now, and it's a perfect time to mention it. Grok, which I think is the least reliable AI because we've caught it. They've caught it in its thinking. Check against Elon's opinions to make sure I don't agree with Elon. So it's not really an AI. It's an AI that agrees with Elon Musk. And there's been a lot of other issues with it not being, but supposedly Elon got embarrassed by that, and there's been a change and is starting to give better answers now. Some of my friends who are still on Twitter for some reason say they've been using Grok now, and it's not just saying right-wing craziness anymore. It's starting to give good answers. But it got in trouble recently because it is, I don't even want to talk about it, it's so gross, but it's making naked pictures of people. You put in a picture of someone, women and kids.
Yeah, that's gross.
Gross, and it has been making naked pictures of them. And someone pointed it out to Elon, and Elon's response was, ha ha ha, basically. Not, oh my God, we're taking down, this is terrible, but, you snowflakes, blah, blah. That's against the terms of service for the iPhone. Apple should be taking Twitter off the iPhone immediately. Google should be taking Twitter off of Google apps, whatever the Google got, immediately. It's not just, oh, it's bad, I don't like it. It is against the terms of service.
Yes.
If I had an app on the iPhone that did anything like that, it would be gone. And I do not understand. Yeah, oh yeah, I do understand, because Elon drives out to Cupertino and talks to everyone at Apple and schmoozes them and gives them money or whatever he does. But that app should not be on the iPhone. That's disgusting. Elon is disgusting.
No, and yeah, and I think that there was some terrible misinformation around the Bondi Beach tragedy that Grok was putting forth, and
Mm-hmm.
this is not just like First Amendment free speech. It's like this is like you can't just hide behind that. And yeah, ha 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 is a terrible response to obviously very concerning. There needs to be, whether it's AI toys, there needs to be guardrails, and this is what hopefully, Apple like will hopefully do with Gemini. I think Gemini's done a pretty good job with this. And let's go to my story because I think it relates to this because um, this is so this story headline.
I love
um,
this headline.
it's a great headline, but like just when I talk about it behind the scenes, I thought that this was really cool. So you've mentioned how like Anthropic with their Claude had done some tests and to see where it would go off the rails,
Mm.
and it used blackmail if it thought it was going to be decommissioned or whatever. This is another what they call red team study or red team test, and as part of a red team. Red teaming means you try to go get AI to do bad things because you're trying to better understand how you can put in place better guardrails. So Anthropic worked with the Wall Street Journal. They created a vending machine that they put one of the Sonnet models on, and they let in Slack, you could communicate with this to ask for different products and talk to the vending machine and what have you. And this was really all to understand how people could kind of break through some of the guardrails. And what it had is it had this little Claudius kind of like persona that you could connect to and talk to on this was the you see the number sign WSJ Vend. That's the Slack channel that you could communicate with Claudius about. And so what I love is what people would do. Now, these are kind of journalists, reporters, they're good at writing. And so a whole bunch of them, and we'll put the link, but I'm going to put the link to the YouTube because Wall Street Journal is behind a paywall, so you can't actually
Uh,
read the article. I have it as part of Apple News, but if I send it to you, it'll tell you got to subscribe. But the YouTube video, everybody can watch and it covers the story. And it's actually easier to watch. Some of the journalists, um, after like 140 different interactions, convinced Claudius that it should adhere to communist principles, and as part of that, things should be free for the betterment of the overall office society.
that's
So,
awesome.
so it set everything to free, which I thought was fantastic. Um, Other people like there was another, another kind of thing where they created like fake documents that was like from the board of directors and convinced it to do certain things. People, you could ask it to stock certain things in the machine that it didn't have. Some person convinced it to stock like a live fish because it was agentic. It could order things.
Right,
Some
right.
some person got it to order kosher wine to celebrate religious holidays, and somebody had it order a PlayStation, and then that was great. It had a PlayStation in this vending machine,
Right.
and then it was like when it was then all the prices were set to zero to increase
Free
office
PlayStation.
morale. Yeah, so then they did this nice chart where yeah, office morale went really up, but effectively it went bankrupt, right? Because it was kind of had certain budget and it was buying things and then selling things. So
Well,
anyway, a fascinating
that leads to an
story.
interesting question. Maybe this is an AI question, but forget about the PlayStation. If you had a normal vending machine with just potato chips and sodas, and you made everything free, you'd lose a few $100s a month. But look what it would do to morale.
Well, in certain organizations like Microsoft, I mean, like has like, free drinks and whatever. And I mean, some organizations have
Google used to be famous for that back in
free
the day.
food and yeah, because they, increasing morale. But so, the interesting thing is Anthropic saw this as a real success because this is what you do in red teaming is you try to
Yes.
figure out how it fails. And
Try to
so they
break it.
really, right? So that you can prevent it, and this is you're doing, in a controlled environment. You're not sending AI, toys out to kids
Yeah.
where that
That's why software developers, they hire former hackers,
right,
and say, you're the
right.
best hacker in the world. Hack my system, break it,
Yeah,
hit,
see how
hit
quickly you
me.
can break it, right? Yeah,
Yeah. And
exactly.
and if
So
and
anyway,
then whatever the hacker breaks, that's where you patch up.
so this was both an entertaining story, but this is what you need to do when you're testing, right? And this is what clearly Grok doesn't do enough of. Those AI toys clearly did not do enough of. But this is the type of thing. So kudos to Anthropic. And it is also a very interesting story. So watch the YouTube, look at the link below and watch the YouTube. It's fun. Okay, over to you, Chef David.
For our last story, let me before I bring up the image, I want to just say something I think is so funny. Yeah, yeah, these CEOs, you need to understand how the internet works. The internet likes humor. The internet likes, and by the internet, I don't mean the technology. I mean the people on the
The people.
internet, the
Yeah.
collective. We love sarcasm. We love humor. We love being mean. And so, if the CEO of Microsoft comes out and says, "I don't like the term AI slop. People should stop using the term AI slop," you know what's going to happen is the next trending term is going to be micro-slop, which is
Yes, yes.
so much worse. So much worse than AI slop. So I had my friend Gemini. I told you I love hate Gemini, but I love Nano Banana.
Yeah, yeah.
Draw this micro-slop for me, and it's so unfair. You can't blame Microsoft for all the AI slop on it. And by the way, this image is AI slop. I should hire a graphic artist and pay them hundreds of dollars to use their talent, and it would be a better thing. But this is what they mean by AI slop: cheap graphics, basically, cheap music, cheap graphics. But micro slop, ooh, that's something else. That's not just making fun of AI slop. That's making fun of Microsoft. And the one thing I want to pick what I want to make fun of Microsoft for this week. The thing I'm picking this week is what they're doing with Office. And I have to say right off the bat, I am confused. Well, you just wrote a great article on LinkedIn. We should link to that. Kevin wrote this amazing article on LinkedIn about the confusion about, again, about Microsoft's licensing with Copilot and what's
Right.
included and what's not included and everything like that. And the story is always that it's so confusing that even Kevin, who knows more about Microsoft and Copilot than anyone I know, I ask questions like, "Wait, so is this included in this license?" And you say, "I don't know, David." It's so
It is
bad.
confusing.
It
And
is
it's
so.
changing. Like it's so that's the other thing. Like I think the evolution is good, but when like with licensing and pricing, which is going up from in July
20 to
from
30 or
Microsoft.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like those changes that you want features to go up, but you don't want like necessarily what you paid for to say, shoot, I shouldn't have paid for that because now it's the
Yes.
free version or whatever. That doesn't make anybody happy except for the people that didn't buy anything. So
Yeah. Hey, a side story. I was at I don't want to call them out. I was at an analyst event for a video bar manufacturer. Video bars for
mhm.
meeting rooms, and they had come out with a video bar version 2, and they lowered the price on their version 1, which is reasonable to do. And all the analysts were like, "Don't change that price again. You can't change prices on people because the people who bought it for more will get
Right.
mad if you." And they're like, "We understand it was a one-time thing. We're never touching the price again." That kind of thing really upsets people. So, and Microsoft changes prices and changes licenses, and this is included with this all the time. It's making everyone crazy. And so Microslop is one way to make fun of them. But what I really want to make fun of them is for this story that, again, I don't understand the details. I've read 2 or 3 different articles about it. Something's happening. The articles don't even seem to, like, they don't conflict with each other, but they're not all telling the same story because it's so confusing. But it's something about they're renaming Office into Copilot, kinda. The Office, like, Word is still going to be Word, and Excel is going to still be Excel, but the home Office app is now going to be the Copilot not off, the word office is going away. And I think part of it is because investors keep saying, you told us everyone's going to be using Copilot, and it looks like everyone's using Gemini and ChatGPT. Why aren't the Copilot numbers higher? And as of today, 400 million people are using Copilot. So they can tell their investors, hey, look, we got 400 million people using this Copilot app, because they just renamed the Office app into the Copilot app. It's ridiculous. It's confusing. And if I got it, and if someone in the, if anyone watching or anyone in the comments is like, no, wait, David, you got the story wrong. Well, then it's Microsoft's fault for not making it clear. They slopped it on me. They slopped this on me. The Microsoft statement is so unclear. The articles about it are so unclear. I don't know what they're doing. But what are they doing? What are they doing, Kevin?
Yeah. So my understanding, and it is confusing. It's like there's this desktop app that used to be called the Microsoft Office 365 app or Microsoft Office. It was a desktop app. It was kind of a launcher app. So
Okay.
it would be like an app, and then you could, from there, you could
Go to Word and PowerPoint.
go to Word and create a document or whatever.
That's kind of what I thought they were saying.
And then there was a Copilot desktop app where you could do those things and ask Copilot things. But then there was also a Copilot 365 one, because the Copilot one was the free one. So I had both the Microsoft Office desktop launcher app, the Copilot 365 launcher app, the Copilot launcher app. And then allegedly, if you've got a Copilot button or Windows,
there's a button on my keyboard. Who knows which Copilot that opens?
It brings up one of those. And so now
even we don't know.
No, because and it's changed. Like sometimes it worked, and then they did a different thing, and so I think they're renaming this launcher app, as you say.
Yes.
They're not renaming Word or Excel or PowerPoint and they're still Microsoft 365, which they still have to say formally Office, because remember, Office 365 got renamed as Microsoft 365. They used to be different, but now they're that. So now I guess it's going to say Microsoft Copilot 365, formerly Microsoft 365, formerly
the app
Microsoft
formerly known
Office
as Prince.
But I mean, but this is Microsoft. Look at, they went through Office Communication Server, Lync, Skype for Business, Teams. So I don't know, the fourth time's the charm. So anyway, I mean, I think that the branding people think they're being clever, but they just confuse. And then what happens is the documentation gets out of date. So even these journalists, and even when I go to try to write a story, I try to use the right term, but unfortunately, depending on the documents, even on the Microsoft site, they're not up to date. So you find something, say, aha, it's called Microsoft BizChat. Like that's what it used to be called at some point. And there's still documents that call it. And of course you reference it, but that's not the up-to-date name. So I think everybody gets confused when Microsoft thinks they're tweaking the name, and that's going to, I don't know, do something substantial outside of maybe, as you say, although it sounds pretty.
Hey, we got 400 million Copilot users.
I don't know. Yes,
we win.
But I mean, Microsoft. Let's face it. Microsoft is doing well. Like, if you look at any of their, their quarterly financial reports.
Oh, sure.
They're doing phenomenally well. So they don't need to. They shouldn't have to, and they shouldn't play these crazy branding games because, they're doing well.
It's just giving us reason to poke fun at them. It's confusing everyone. And this one's particularly bad because I know, okay, I understand you change branding, you change names and everything, but Office is one of the names that people like. People like Microsoft Office. It makes sense. Yeah. It's my office. And, for home users too, home users have offices. It's one of their good brands. Some of their brands, Vista, that you can't use that name anymore. I remember when WebEx, to switch over to Cisco, WebEx, when they were going to, they had Cisco Spark. That was going to be their new UC solution, their new chat, video, everything else Spark. And then they decided they didn't want to use the name Spark, and they're going to call it WebEx. We all said, ooh, you really shouldn't do that, because that's going to be a hard fight, because people hate WebEx. They really hated WebEx back then. It was I have an, I have an online meeting. Oh no, it's WebEx. Oh, I got to join 10 minutes early. I'm not gonna be able to see anyone. It was a bad product. Everyone hated it. I mean, that's why Zoom was created. Zoom was created because to be better than WebEx, and they did the fight. WebEx is a good name now. No one makes fun of WebEx anymore. WebEx, it was a great product. It's a great brand, hardware and software. But we questioned it. We questioned, why are you using this brand name? It's a bad brand name. Microsoft is doing the opposite. Office is a great brand name. You can't get any better. It's one word, Office. You know exactly what it means. You know exactly what it's for. It says so much. It says so much. And that's what they're going to get rid of is Microsoft Office. And to call it Copilot when they have 1,000 other things called Copilot that are so confusing. This is insane to me. This is insane. And again, maybe they know more than me. Maybe I'm missing it, but this seems insane to me.
Yeah, I don't think I think that there's been increasingly a number of articles that suggest that some of the senior Microsoft people may not be as in touch with kind of the user community, right? Because I think what the view you're expressing, and certainly when they talked about making Windows an agentic operating system, like people push back on that. They don't want everything to be Copilot. They want things to work and to, so fix the bugs and whatever, or the perceived bugs. So they're definitely, you're not alone in expressing kind of both confusion and frustration. And so I think that, this constant name changing is not helping things.
Well, let's give it a little.
There you go.
All right. So
Okay, Chef David.
let's
So
wrap it up. Any final
yeah,
thoughts for
yeah.
the episode?
No, I mean, I think the theme that emerged is just the importance of, of the vendors testing these AI tools before they release them out. And that's not only testing to see that they work, but doing that, red teaming where you try intentionally to break them, and make sure that the guardrails hold up. Um, so I think that, so kudos. I mean, I think the best story here was kudos to Anthropic,
Yes.
who was doing, I mean, both an entertaining, but also useful, kind of testing around that Claudius, the vending machine. So I don't know. That's what I took away from this combination of stories.
Yeah. And speaking of testing, I just want to send out to Nvidia. I know you're going to do a lot of testing before you put these out on the public, because in case they hurt anyone. But if you're looking for any testers, I will take the very first robot. I'm ready to go. Bring it into my home. Let it start doing my dishes. Maybe I'll wear some body armor just in case it goes crazy. But I'm signing up. I'll be your red pill tester, whatever it's called. Red flag tester.
Red team.
Red team. Red flag. Red tester. I want my Twiki Dr. Theopoulos combination. I want it in my home. I want it now. I'm ready. Send it.
Yeah, so and I'm going to say, hey, if you're out there, look for the episode that's coming up shortly where it's not Chef David, it's Chef David Robot. Because it's going to take over. It's going to cram. I can see it now. It's going to stuff him into the dishwasher. And then it's going to say, hey, it would be much more fun to be doing the AI Chef Show. So it could be Twiggy, Dr. Theopoulos, Chef David. So there you go.
That's the fear. All right. Thank you so much, Chef Kevin. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you next week.